fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got rhythm, both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up top here!
Oh my god! Oh. Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
It's very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
A big round 5 in the championship. It's going to be a tough and tall order for anybody to stop the man who has been walking away with the championship at this point in time. But around a track which has so often seen the unexpected thrown up, including the craziest ever start to a Formula One race, probably ever, this is the track where history can be made in this championship season. This is where the form book potentially could either change or very much set its sights on a one-track mind for the season. You're watching live here at the Nurburgring for this, your iRacing Grand Prix Series official top split action here today. Jake Sperry in the commentary box, joined as ever by Cameron Dance, and alongside on the cameras for this one as well, Jay Kennedy is there right now. But Cam, they've got to talk championship here as qualifying is underway. 8 minutes, 2 laps. There's 5.5 minutes left in qualifying for that. The big key is going to be who can manage themselves to get by a Mark Usher, who has put 3 straight victories on the board coming out of Imola, where he non-finished on the last lap.
Yeah, Usher's been full dominant spec so far in these last 3 races, and the downfall of Danilo Sanfilippo and also Marco, also with that crash at Canada, is really shaking this championship up quite a bit. So it's all about just who's going to be able to topple Mark's lead and who can actually manage to challenge him at this point, because it's an unsaleable lead at this stage that he's had, especially with the form that he's had in the last 3 races.
Yeah, and form becomes very, very crucial when you try and build up a 12-round championship. First time's coming in, it is Danilo Sanfilippo who puts himself on the board highest, 130.6. He is a full half a second quicker than Reynaldo Augusto in second position. Car number 6 he is, as Wojciech Kosiuk moves up to third, but there's Patrick Kowalski getting himself up into third position. The time's coming in. Mark Usher just about to start his first flying lap. Tamas Shane moving into third, 1.1 off of pole.
Yeah, very solid lap from Shane there. He's shown some really decent pace in the last 3 rounds, so if he can keep this up at this round, he should be on for a very solid result. But nevertheless, Danilo Sanfilippo straight to the top as well, which comes as no surprise, but indeed it will be very fascinating to see what Mark Usher can do.
It absolutely will, and Mark Usher will be trying to put his time on the board. Here's Marco Sanfilippo, 130.512. The Sanfilippo's on the front row once again, 1 and 2, and above the rest of the field. Clayton McLeod is third in the championship right now here, Cam. He splits the 2 Sanfilippos. He's on his second lap right now, and he finds himself in 4th place.
Yeah, he certainly does, and he's shown plenty good potential on the podium at Canada last week, so he'll be hoping to carry the momentum through to this week indeed, but nevertheless, he'll be on to try and at least see where he can put himself, if not inside that top 3 once again, and hopefully split the Sanfilippo brothers.
Well, he'll certainly try at the moment, as likes of Stefan Chantal has gone into 4th. Matt Howard up into 7th position. Here's Jaden Thurlow. Had a shot at victory were it not for a penalty he had. And he goes up to 5th on a 131.2. Good time by Jaden Thurlow. He bumps down Clayton McLeod's. The likes of Scott Sims moves up into 10th position. Scott Sims, a name, Cam, who's probably got the best he's got. But Mark Usher has just put himself on a massive 130.4. That puts him top by half a tenth.
Yeah, very solid lap there by Mark Usher, and he's also got 1 more lap, so he's probably going to top of that time even better. McLeod moves up into P6 as well, so good time from him, but nevertheless, everybody seems to really be managing this track actually quite well, which, despite what it is, it actually puts on some very, very difficult driving.
Certainly does. Marco Sanfilippo, 130.2. What a time as he finds 0.2 of a second to go to pole position, just like that. Other drivers with an extra lap in the bank. Andreas Nielsen is one of them as Chris Owen moves up into 4th position, used a drop round after Canada last week, and so he comes back full of vigor and life after just waking up, and he's gone 4th as the likes of Kowalski there goes 9th. Matt Wood going 10th. He's more keen to a Lotus 79 than a Formula 1 car, but 10th place he'll take.
Certainly, he's used to this style of Grand Prix car, but more the old classic style, so he's done very, very well for himself inside the top 10. I've just seen Jose Serpa finish lap 1:31.0, puts himself inside the top 5 as well. But Mark Usher's also spun around.
And there goes the lap, the same way it went for Renato Augusto's second lap. So Mark Usher will not find any improvements then on his times. Stefan Piotrowski will need one more lap. He has that in his bank. Chris Owen could go quicker. He needs half a second. And then Andreas Nielsen, who has yet to set a time, along with Antonio Ortiz, needs to find something here in a field which is spread quite handsomely. Mustafa Erden down at the bottom in 27th on a 34.1, which tells you there's 4 seconds between fastest and slowest at the moment. Left-right chicane comes for Andreas Nielsen, and he struggles a little bit there on the exit here. It's so easy to spin up the rears in this McLaren. Not even the McLaren, the Williams FW31. And there we talk about spinning the wheels. There he goes around there, Andreas Nielsen. So Chris Owen making his push to the line here in the Williams. And can he find himself the half a second needed? Answer is no. He was 2/10 off. Piotrowski will come to the line, 31.6. That's good enough for the 6th row of the grid, 12th position. This is how the grid will look here at the Nurburgring Grand Prix circuit. Marco Sanfilippo on pole position here with Mark Usher alongside him. Danilo Sanfilippo starts from 3rd with Chris Owen in 4th position. Jose Serpa starts from 5th with Reynaldo Augusto in 6th place. Stefan Chantal and Clayton McLeod make an all-Canadian 4th row of the grid, with Jaden Thurlow starting from 9th position, which is ironically his car number, and starting at the top 10. In 10th place is Patrick Kowalski.
On row number 6, Matt Wood and Stephen Piotrowski in 11th and 12th. Row 7, Thomas Jane and John Pat Kelly. Row 8, Matthew Howard and Scott Sims, the greatest name in sim racing at the moment. Row 9, Ray Graffone and Adam Webb. Following out the top 20 will be Steve Guri and Wojciech Koesch.
Jacob Swiderski starts in 21st. Jan Stratinsky alongside for the battle of names which are incredibly difficult to pronounce. David Cudmore and Blake Haswell, 23rd and 24th. Then the world of Kinducci, Robert Plumley, Luis Maraghan, Pablo Maran, Mustafa Erden, and then the 2 drivers who didn't set times, Antonio Ortiz and Andreas Nielsen here to round out the big grid today. 30 cars in the split of 2 splits here today with 60 drivers all looking to participate and get themselves a big run. 2/3 official Formula 1 distance. It's going to be a 40-lap race here today at the Nürburgring. And that is going to mean that these drivers are going to have to make 1 pit stop here today to get themselves home and dry. The Sanfilippo brothers, they would have had a big talking with each other after what happened earlier on at Canada at the circuit of Gilles Villeneuve after they came together down at the hairpin. They will want to make sure this does not repeat itself heading into the first corner, Yokohama and the Mercedes-Benz Arena. Just waiting for Clayton McLeod to get himself up onto the grid. Another drive to wait for is Scott Sims at this moment in time, and looking a little bit further back as well. Robert Plumley will be one of the last put himself up on the starting orders for this one here today. Of course, we are streaming live on YouTube here with SimSpeed TV. Make sure you like, you share, you subscribe for more great content that comes to this wonderful, wonderful channel. And we welcome you to this wondrous race that is about to kick off. Will the season go the way that Mark Usher wants it? Or will the Sanfilippo brothers find something they need? Will Chris Owen's confidence find itself back after a week away? You'll find out right about now. Green flag drops. Let's get ourselves going. It's a good start then by Mark Usher. Look at that from Reynaldo Augusto. He got a great start as they go through. Usher's got the whole shot here into turn number 1 as they slam on the brakes into this long right-hander, and they've got themselves all nicely going in the front, side by side, 3-4 wide in places here in the middle of the pack as they go on through. It seems like it's cleared. Thurlow trying to have his scrap at the moment, but one vehicle's going to run a little bit wide there in the background. That's Blake Haswell, who had a poor quali.
Black Haswell not having the greatest start to this race so far, especially in quali, who didn't end up being where he should have been after Canada, but nevertheless he's doing reasonably well to try and hold on to that car. But great second part of the start by Mark Usher to end up getting away. I did think he didn't quite have the greatest initial launch, but nevertheless did manage to get into Turn 1 at the whole shot.
No, he didn't quite get the whole. Well, he did get the whole shot there, did Mark Usher, and that's what he's done so well, so consistently. Get to the front and try and pull away as they go up through the Schumacher S is so big on these battles that are going on. But John Pat Kelly, we look at the moment, he's trying to find himself maybe a lot more forward than he needs, because he has gone off the circuit here, has John Pat Kelly, as we brought that one up on screen. So that's going to be big and key for the way that his race needs to go. He's on a recovery from minute number 1.
Yeah, and that's the last thing you want to be doing, especially in these shorter races where you don't really have the option of the 2-stopper strategy coming into play, or even 3-stopper to try and help you in that sense. So he's really got a lot of work to do, does it, John Pat Kelly, but nevertheless plenty going on in that mid-pack, and everybody's scrapping positions really, really hard at the moment.
Yeah, Patrick Kowalski's one of them here. Is going to not have any DRS to try and make this move as they look a little bit further in front, maybe a few moments, but you can see down the inside goes Kowalski, is back in the field. We've had a massive incident here that has happened, ladies and gentlemen, and we're just going to get that for you. Cam, take us through it.
It does look like there's been a bit of contact out of the chicane, car spun in the background, and then Swedinsky trying to get up the inside, a bit of contact, and just unfortunate end up in.
Well, that's sometimes the way it goes. There's a lot of grass around this track, and by no means is this Herman Tilke's design around this place. This is tough if you get it wrong around this place. So all of these drivers know a small mistake can cost you massively. With a lot of gravel, a lot of grass, this is not the place where you want everything to go wrong. Up to second and third at the moment, because Chris Owen looks like he's come prepared here to have a strong race against Marco Sanfilippo in second position right now, as they head themselves just behind Mark Usher, who's not been able to break away at the same pace that he has in previous races here. But Chris Owen wants to try and get himself up into that second position, challenge for the race lead. It might just be a case where strategy has to be played here today.
Yes, certainly. Very, very mid to high speed track, this one. So it's all about making sure you can try and keep your car in clean air as much as you possibly can. Chris Owen really strong in the brakes by the looks of it, but just can't quite get the power down compared to the likes of Sanfilippo, who's really, really strong in closing that gap as well to Mark Usher at this stage. Well,
good battle on screen right now. Stefan Chantal holds off McLeod, and then behind that, Thurlow and Renato Augusto, in fact, went backwards. It was Chantal who had the great start. Matt Wood there in the train. Kowalski trying to stay with this one as well as they head through the Mercedes-Benz arena and open back out onto the old circuit here, where they head through towards the left of Ford and the right of Valvoline, and then they head themselves over to the Dunlop hairpin, which is carousel-esque in its design, as they head themselves down the hill and looking for a little bit more of a push at this moment. But this is one of the characteristics of this track. It is a place which looks on paper to be a fantastic racing circuit, but with these vehicles, so aggressive you have to be with these, and with all of the dirty air effect that comes in, there really aren't many places where you can go out there and make a move.
Yeah, certainly. It makes things very, very tough with the dirty air in these high downforce cars, and really does make you work for it quite hard, and makes passing all that much more spectacular and that much more satisfying as well, since you know that you've just done one of the hardest things on this track. But nevertheless, looking like Thurlow's not quite able to get a move done on the car of Clayton McLeod, not quite able to close up on Chantal either.
No, and that's very, very crucial here. Stefan Chantal started to stretch his legs over the course of that last lap, and he's trying to stay within Jose Serpa's range at the moment between these two. Serpa a 33.1 going through. McLeod did a 33.3. Crucially, Stefan Chantal a 1:32.7 was his time, a very strong time going through that time by. So only a handful of drivers were able to go faster, and those were the top 4 drivers in this field, who are running 32 deads at this moment in time. So keep an eye on that as this race looks to continue. You've got other good scraps going on in this field. For example, you've got Antonio Ortiz trying to hold back likes of Steve Diori, David Cudmore, Andres Nielsen on the recovery after failing to set a time in qualifying. That's a key scrap to go on, and you've also got this as well. Scott Sims running slightly wide through Valvoline corner. Tamashane there in the mixes, likes of Wojciech Kosiuk there trying to stay with the likes of Piotrowski and Matt Howard, who are now on the back of Kowalski and co. The bottleneck, Reynaldo Augusto.
Yeah, Augusto really starting to hold the rest of the drivers up behind him. Matt Woodard's got a pretty decent run at the moment, but just not going to be close enough to get a move, and that's wide for Augusto, and that's going to allow Wood to try and get right up behind and try and get a run, but just not quite able to get the power down early enough to get a run down the back straight.
Well, this is going to be the key to Ad Van Bogen, and up the hill, gets a good toe. No DRS at that section, but on the brakes going for the outside line, maybe trying to make this move happen. Doesn't work here, but now under pressure here is Matt Wood, trying to have Kowalski behind, look every which way through the Coca-Cola curve, trying to get things going, and there's a mistake there from Mark Wood, who had to try and, Matt Wood even, Mark Wood's a cricketer, as he tried to put the power on earlier. Here comes Kowalski, looking down to the inside to make this move. Big late lunge on the brakes from Matt Wood to try and cover off that move, and it was successful.
Very, very good move there to hold the move on a very big moment for Augusto, and that's going to be a really close rejoin.
That was a dangerous rejoin there by Reynaldo Augusto, and he's really checked up this pack. Now you've got some Noah's Ark racing here. Howard under pressure from Piotrowski, trying to go around the outside to make this move happen. Gets the nose for the inside to the next right-hander, and he'll have to try and set it up now for the inside the next corner, but no power on the exit. That was some very good battling. Augusto now down to the inside here on Wojciech Kosiuk, and there's contact, and Kosiuk's going to go around here. He doesn't clip anybody else through that section. Wojciech survives.
Yeah, barely managed to avoid the car of Scott Sims as well, so Sims only just getting through that unscathed, but nevertheless really unfortunate there for the car of Kosiuk. So really going to have to try and come through this field. This is going to allow the cars of Andreas Nelson and that to recover, and now Chantal's all over the back end of Jose Super as well.
Good run there coming out of the chicane and in towards the final corner, just trying to open up the wide line, put the power down early as possible here as Chantal loses a couple car lengths through this section, but now we'll have that benefit of the DRS on the front stretch here, heading towards turn number one. Can he get a look down to the inside to make this one happen? Serpa is later on the brakes. The corner always falls away from you at this section, and Chantal is going to have to sit and wait behind just a little bit longer. Howard's had lost his front wing, and this has happened down at the final corner, actually. So he's just coming onto the main straight. Replay brought to you by Motum Simulation. So he tries to put the power down, and that looks like a wheel failure there, because he's just stayed turning left, turning left, turning left. Never looked at one stage cam like the car snapped.
Yeah, certainly. It does look like it was a hardware failure. Just continued to turn right and then just stay there on the exit, and then suddenly was able to turn again. So really unfortunate foul there, especially with the way he was going and looking to have a pretty solid result there.
Yeah, also Ray Griffoen finds himself out of the race as well. His issue happened at turn 2 with a blown engine, we do believe. So Ray Griffoen is out of this race as well. 1 second now, the gap for Mark Usher at the front of the field. He's broken the DRS range once again, but as we have seen so many times when it's come to this season, it is that second stint where Mark Usher tends to be pegged back. He's so good on early race pace, but it's that late race pace which is bringing these other drivers like Sanfilippo, Chris Owen, Danilo Sanfilippo all into the mix, and those 4 drivers split within 4 seconds at the moment. It's going to be a worrying sign behind. Here's a battle. Adam Webb trying to get himself through on Tamashane. He's had it, and Chantal now a run for P5 down to the inside as he tries to get past Jose Serpa. And can he get the move done? Sorted, done and dusted. Yes, he can.
Certainly can. Great move there by Chantal to get ahead of Jose Super, but just behind, like you said, that battle between the cars of Adam Webb, Tamashane and Kosiuk, as Kosiuk's going to send it up the inside. We're going to have the outside, and it's nearly contact, and the car of Shane is going to try and hold it around the inside, but just managed to defend from the car of Kosiuk, and now the car of Kosiuk is going to go backwards with Augusto trying to make a move, but Augusto is just not quite going to have the run there, and they're going to come under pressure from Antonio Ortiz Poveda at some point as well.
They certainly are. This is a really rowdy fight at the moment as they head into the next right-hand bend down the hill and towards the Dunlop hairpin. And for the time being then, Antonio Ortiz can sit and wait. Renato Augusto, remember, started 6th on the grid, and he's now trying to recover his way through. Same could be, well, definitely can't be said for Wojciech Kościuk, but he's had a good start to this race. He's up 6 places already in the opening proceedings to this one at the moment. But you start looking at incidents that are happening here in this race. Just everyone trying to find themselves in a good place to go out there and attack someone who is, at this moment in time, you would have to say is a mistake, actually, for Renato Augusto, as we were just talking. He's dropped a couple of places, coming out of the carousel, trying to put the power down there, Cam, and the vehicle's just snapped on him on the exit.
Yeah, certainly very easy to do, especially with the way that the road is cambered at the hairpin, and it's not the easiest corner to get right either, so he's lost a lot of time to the cars ahead of him, and he's even going to come under pressure at some point from Giori, who's not too far behind as well, so you need to make sure that he doesn't make any more mistakes and tries to close that gap up back to the
This is Scott Sims here on the Motum Simulation replay. We're getting a look at him trying to make a move at the moment. You can see he gets right up underneath, tries to get himself through, and there's the big issue as he goes through. You can see how the rear of that vehicle, Cam, very much bouncing. It's almost like it needs that 2005 Renault rear damper to go through that section to go through. You can see he just runs a little wide, catches the curb, bump, 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 and then when you've got no grip, the tire's going up and down. How on earth are you supposed to save a vehicle?
Yeah, that corner is very, very tricky on the exit, and especially in these high-powered downforce cars where it really does unsettle the car quite easily. So you're not surprised that the car's actually pretty much let go on them there, but nevertheless, it is one of the challenges around this track is that MGK chicane, which really does make it tricky on exit and does reward you if you've got a very well set up car, and if you do even have that Renault damper in there as well.
Yeah, and that's going to be really, really crucial as they look to try and run on through, as Jaden Thurlow becomes the driver who is closest to being under pressure at the moment. Matt Wood trying to find himself close enough to make a move, but he is just not quite in the wheelhouse to make that happen at the moment, and it is very, very telling here at this point. Matt Wood is stuck behind Jaden Thurlow, who's running some very consistent lap times at the moment here in 8th place. He was the longest driver at Montreal in terms of his stints. He went for a one-stop strategy that very easily could have worked. Also worth noting right now that Mark Usher is absolutely motoring at the moment. He's just gone purple the last time by with a 1:31.7, which was a full 0.6 quicker than Sanfilippo behind.
Marcus really putting his foot down in dominance and putting that fastest lap up there, so no surprise that he's got big pace, but Ortiz Poveda really putting the pressure on Kościuk, who's now going to have the car of Haswell now getting involved in this, and Augusto's not too far behind either, as well as Giori, so this is a little good crack as well.
Well, you've also got to keep in mind that there was contact going through, that Renato Augusto did make a little bit of contact here with Blake Haswell heading into that forward curve. So that's going to be crucial here as they head back up the hill once again. This is where the dirty air effect becomes difficult. Not going to get the look into the big left-hander as they now head to the long right, which is a big hurt when it comes to these style of vehicles. The dirty air is massive, but it's not affected Antonio Ortiz at the moment here. Now Wojciech Kościuk has to go defensive here on the inside. As a look to the outside, it's very difficult. Now you're trying to play a bit of stitching at the moment. You knit one, you purr one, you try and find yourself a way through, but again, not quite there. The run to turn one again proves vital.
Yeah, it certainly does, and Blake Haswell really had to check up. There's a big defense from Kościuk to try and hold off the position from Ortiz, who's going to have to go round the outside into turn one. Very possible to do, and Haswell's going to try to keep the car of Augusto at bay as well, and the car of Ortiz not going to be successful.
He's not going to be successful, but he is still trying to play that long chess game of, can I maneuver and overtake? This is one of the few tracks where you can say, I may have to make a move one lap in advance. Well, you're going to have to make more here, Antonio. He's dropped 2 places there, losing the rears, heading through the left-hand bend of turn number 4 in the Mercedes-Benz Arena. And there are 2 places. He will now work incredibly hard to get back once again. So that's going to be really, really challenging here. Track conditions today are ideal, you'd say, Cam. 28 degrees is a perfect track.
Yeah, it's not too warm, not too hot. It's right in between being nice and warm, so it's going to be really, really good for the drivers. Plenty of grip out there as well with that 28 degrees, and a very, very strong wind though at 20 kilometers an hour in the westerly direction. But Matt Wood is putting on a lot of pressure on the Thurlow. Tried to make a move at the education camp, just couldn't quite get done.
No, he certainly couldn't, and he's been here and he's seen this story all too often. Gets a great run though, coming off of the exit, and he might have a chance here on Thurlow into the first corner. On the brakes they go. It's a slight turn as well on the brakes as they go through. Thurlow's going to try the really wide line, but if you're going to go out to 9 here like that, you're going to have to hope you come back with a line, a witch and a wardrobe as well. That doesn't work. Thurlow loses the place.
Matt Wood on through, and I've just seen Haswell has had a moment, ended up
Kowalski's off.
having a spin at the chicane and ended up making contact with Augusto, and now Kowalski's off as well.
Yeah, so 2 incidents happening. So this is what's happened to Blake Haswell. Goes over the curb and then, yep, around you go. Nowhere to go there for the yellow machine there. And here's Patrick Kowalski all on his own into turn number 1. Only a few seconds later, you can see, heads through the right and then trying to put the power down. Whee, around you go.
Yeah, so very, very easy to do there with it being downhill as well, but really unfortunate for Haswell there. That's a lot of damage that's going to be on that car, and won't be surprised.
Chris Owen into the fence then, coming out of the right-hander onto the run to Ad Van Bogen. Chris Owen has found himself in the wall all on his own, heads himself through the curb, just catches a bit too much curb on the exit there, Cam, and he finds himself into the tyres.
Yeah, really unfortunate there. He might have got away with it being not too much damage, but the rear wing is indeed damaged, so he's going to be there for quite some time to get that thing replaced, but not the best start to this race for Chris Owen, and he is actually crabbing as well, so bigger issues than just the rear wing at this stage.
Suspension, and that is notoriously so tough to repair. Normally it isn't, so Chris Owen may find another non-finish here in this race, and that would be a huge shame at the moment for him. He was running in 3rd position very comfortably at that point in time, so he now finds himself with the longest and woefulest run down the pits. Here's Koshuk though under pressure. Ortiz has found a way back to him around the outside. He's going to try it once again, and again Ortiz not finding any way to make a way through at this moment in time. Other battles include Clayton McLeod, the Canadian, is up against Jose Serpa in the number 12 car from Club Iberia, and this is going to be a very interesting scrap for the top 5. No, it's not. There he goes.
Just too eager on the throttle again from McLeod, and just seeing these minor mistakes, and just caught the curve as well, which has not helped him at all, but was actually catching him at a pretty alright rate with the gap that he had. Was a 10th quicker that last time by, but all that hard work has just been undone, and Matt Wood is actually now up in 7th.
Yeah, great work here from Matt Wood. He is absolutely motoring now and trying to get his times back in check at this moment in the race, so we'll keep an eye out on that the longer this race goes on. Still that scrap between Antonio Ortiz and Wojciech Koshuk still happening at the moment, and Wojciech, the number 30 driver, has nothing to lose. He's the lowest I-rated driver in this field, so he knows that every position matters at the moment. On the brakes, left-right chicane comes along once again, and once more there is a lot of battling going on that's done well. Adam Webb has gone around down at the chicane, and Adam Webb looking more like Adam West's Batman at the moment, because round he went and they went, oh no, wham, bam, not going to find a way through.
Certainly, and very lucky not to actually get collected by the cars of Pablo Martin and Patrick Kowalski, but nevertheless, that is time at lost.
Look at Ortiz around the outside of turn 2 to try and hold it. An educated move that a room full of Harvard graduates would not be able to solve. And finally, it's a puzzle that has been completed by Antonio Ortiz.
A few laps, but he finally got the move done, did the car of Ortiz on Koshik, and got a replay of the move. Great move actually to get it around the outside. Very possible to do, but do have to have a lot of overlap and a lot of bravery as well, especially in these sort of cars and the sort of drivers that you're racing. So really, really good move there by Antonio Ortiz, but nevertheless, still plenty of domination by that car of Mark Usher up front.
Lap 14 of 40 then starts for Mark Usher, who is in the place he has been most comfortable in all season long. at the front. His margin nearly 5 seconds now after a 1:31.6. After setting 3 lap times in the mid 1:31s, his last 3 runs through a 1:31.4, a 1:31.5, and a 1:31.6 out there. Marco Sanfilippo was a full second slower as he tried to negotiate away around David Cutmore, but his brother Danilo there in third. Has not been the quicker of the two brothers, but crucially, it's worth saying this, Cam, has been the more consistent of the two.
Yeah, he certainly has been the more consistent of the two, which is what you want in these longer runs in these championships with multiple races. So he's doing everything right that he possibly can to try and have the best possible run at the championship. But Mark Usher has just been absolutely dominant in trying to get all those points. So he's unfortunately going to have his work cut out for him in the next number of weeks. But nevertheless, he's going to try everything he possibly can.
It's worth noting that best 8 scores count in this championship, with 4 drop rounds available as per the way that iRacing works all its official series and championships when it comes to the road side of racing. That's going to be crucial for this. Here's a battle. Wojciech Kościuk looks like he's struggling here out on track. Has he managed to cop a bit of damage on his vehicle? His front wing looks absolutely battered. It looks more battered than a cod and chips. And he's come together with, I believe, Steve Giori through turn number 4. So he makes a big mistake, hits the inside. Giori gets a big send up and over at the 90-degree right. And then Kościuk and Giori are now both limping to the pits.
Yeah, Giori with a big there, so not too ideal, and all just because of Kościuk having a bit of his half spin and then Giori with nowhere to go, unfortunately. So those two aren't going to be too pleased with themselves ending up in the war. Matt Woods has one as well, so not too ideal, and he's fallen down the order behind Clayton McLeod now.
Yeah, that one happening at the chicane, goes through the left-hander, too much curb on entry, can't put the power down early enough, and then when the rear's unsettled, it's so tough to hold this vehicle together. Matt Wood goes around. He's driver number 1 in terms of iRacing in this field. He is 9th position now here in this race. So Mark Usher in the front at the moment. Then it's the two Sanfilippo. Chantal in 4th position. Jose Serpa's 5th. Jaden Thurlow in 6th. It's Stefan Piotrowski having a quiet drive to 7th right now. Clayton McLeod back in 8th. Matt Wood 9th. And Patrick Kowalski, after his half spin, finds himself inside the top 10 at the moment. But the pit stop window normally goes to about 2/3 distance, Cam. So we're looking at maybe lap 25, lap 26, the absolute latest. You can come down in, get yourself some tyres, get yourself some fuel, get yourself back out and going and running for the end of the race.
And it's actually not that late either. With this race being 40 laps, it's just over halfway. So it's almost going to be a little bit of a interesting one to see who ends up doing where, possibly tyre wear being a little bit higher around the circuit, but that's actually not too much further after halfway, so you probably find majority of drivers are going to pit around that 20 lap mark to try and at least split this race up evenly and not have to worry about an overcut or an undercut too much.
Well, we have known and seen that normally it comes to traffic where the big margin has to be looked at in terms of the way that the races go. So we'll see how that all runs itself in terms of its due course. A very interesting battle that will be coming up soon will be Robert Plumley versus Mustafa Erden. Erden, 28th. He was the slowest driver who set qualifying lap times, but he's got some very good race pace here as they both take a very wide line through the chicane. They're both running a little bit deep, but Plumley under pressure right now as they've also got Ortiz right now trying to get past Adam Webb at this moment in time. Car number 28 in this field in terms of iRacing, but he's in 12th place, and this battle for 12th is going to be very hard fought. Antonio Ortiz, well, he knows he's got patience, so to speak, Cam, but Adam Webb, we'll see what he's made of.
Certainly we'll see what Adam Webb is made of. Made a few mistakes in this race has Adam Webb, and so has Ortiz, so roughly around the same sort of equal on number of mistakes, so we'll see who ends up coming away with this position. But Ortiz really putting on a lot of pressure and has shown some good strength in pace in these last few laps as well. 3/10 clear of Adam Webb, so really up there with the rest of the field, but he's got a long way to get back to where he should be.
He certainly does have a long way to get back to where he needs to, as I've just seen come down onto the lane. Jacob Swiderski making his pit stop at the moment, so he's going to hope that he can go on and off and back off going, but Ortiz at the moment needing to find a way to make a move and is just not placed at the moment to see that happen as they both snake and struggle their way through that very, very tight chicane as they get on the power through to the final corner of the Coca-Cola curve as they look for more to happen in this race. A lot of drivers think this is a medium downforce track, Cam, mainly due to the fact that they go through these corners and you see they've got some quick speed areas like the Schumacher S. But one thing that doesn't help you in the slow corners, especially that chicane, is downforce. That is a mechanical grip corner.
Yes, certainly. It does make it all that much more tricky is trying to work out how to maximize that mechanical grip for those sort of corners where the downforce isn't really playing a large role, per se, and especially in that final chicane and the NGK chicane where it's really, really bumpy and you need all the mechanical grip you possibly can, where the tires are constantly loaded and bouncing up and down and off the road. So, yeah, it makes it very, very difficult and quite a challenge to set cars up here. And all about just making sure you don't end up losing it and making sure you can have a sort of a compromise between too much grip and too little grip.
Yes, it's almost like you need a Goldilocks car around this track. You've got to hope things go wrong. Ghiori goes around right in front of Stefan Chantal in 4th position, so Ghiori really not having a good day here, and he's overspun the car as well on that very, very difficult cross. He's got to be careful on this rejoin because Blake Haswell will go through, Stefan Piotrowski there, and you can Tony Hawk that curve and get yourself very much beached through that section. Ghiori doing a great job to stay out of dramas here with all these drives going through like McLeod and Matt Wood here, who will be looking like they're going to have their scrap very, very soon. But of course, we're on lap 18, which means we're not a million miles away here, Cam, from that pit stop window.
Certainly not too far away. You'll probably start to see drivers try to use that undercut, but Peter is going to look up the inside on Adam Webb into turn number 1. Is he going to get the move done around the inside? Yes, he is. Very clean and very easy.
That is a comfortable move from Antonio Ortiz. And the number 4 driver, in terms of his car number, moves himself up into 12th place. His next challenge is a couple of seconds down the road. It's Tamas Shane at the moment, who is running about half a second a lap slower than Antonio Ortiz is at this point in time. So we'll see how long it takes for Tamas Shane to deal with the battles at the moment. In terms of retirements, there have been quite a few. John Pat Kelly, Ray Griffin, Matthew Howard, Chris Owen have been retirements, as has Wojciech Kosiuk as well, to be the 5th. And a lot of drivers already finding themselves a lap down at the hands of this driver, car number 2, Mark Usher, who's just done a 1:31.3 on the back of his fastest lap of the race, which was a 31 flat, which is eye-watering in terms of the fuel numbers that he's got at the moment. He put he put a whole second on Marco Sanfilippo. Again, it's 7.6 now at the front.
Yeah, Mark Usher continuing to pull away from the car of Marco Sanfilippo and the rest of the field as well. Just absolute dominance and proving that he is the man to beat in this series and in these cars as well, with plenty of experience. But Kowalski's going to try and get a move done here on the car. No, he's in the pit, sorry.
Well, so Kowalski is going to make the big call then. He comes in at the end of lap 18, start of lap 19. This is the first real pit stop we've seen in this race. He pits in, he's in 10th position when he's come down in, and that's very crucial as well to remember here, Cam. It's only a 60km/h pit lane speed. It will feel like agony for these drivers on a long straight.
Yes, certainly it will, and it'll be just all about trying to minimise the amount of time you are stopped, the fact that the pit lane is so slow. And then also the problem is going to be rejoining as well, with the pit exit pretty much ending up in turn 1. So really got to keep an eye on your mirror when you come out of pit lane and make sure you don't end up making contact with anyone. So really going to have to keep an eye on that and make sure there's going to be no issues. But Ortiz is also starting to close up on the car of Shane, and Piotrowski is starting to close up as well.
Yeah, Stefan Piotrowski then trying to get himself close to Jaden Thurlow in the battle for 6th and 7th position here on the road. Piotrowski is up 5 places in this race. Your biggest gainer has been Antonio Ortiz. He's up 17 places in this race after starting 29th. That's been a good recovery here. No takers from those two then coming onto pit lane, but what is going to be key is that Piotrowski will put himself within the 1 second window now, and he will have that DRS, that drag reduction system, as he makes his way towards turn number 1, this Yokohama S, so to speak, but you cut out the S and you head into the Mercedes-Benz Arena section, and ultimately for the moment, Piotrowski's just got to put the pressure on Jaden Thurlow.
Yeah, he certainly is. He just gets to keep the pressure down on the car of Thurlow, who's done a pretty good job actually to have the pace he has and end up holding off Piotrowski, who was 2 tenths slower that last time by, but nevertheless, if the pit stop does come into play, Piotrowski will try to make sure they can try and find a way past Thurlow in the pit lane. Thurlow ending up with a speeding pit penalty when he did that one stop at Canada, so we're hoping to try and not have that happen again, but really going to have to push hard here because Piotrowski's going to want to find a way by.
Out of the pits comes Tamas Shane, so this is going to be key. He came in first compared to himself and one Antonio Ortiz, so Shane away and finds himself behind Mustafa Erden, so he will look to try and find a bit more improvements. Robert Plumley and Blake Haswell both on the lane. Plumley getting himself off and going again. Mark Usher will put both of them another lap down as Usher goes to lap Luis Maraghan here in 18th place on the road. So we're at the halfway stage at the end of this lap, and very, very crucially, it is Marco Sanfilippo who needs to find the pace. 9 seconds now. The gap at the front of this field is looking massive. Matt Wood makes his beeline then down to the pits in his battle with Clayton McLeod.
Yeah, Matt Wood going for an undercut on the car of Clayton McLeod, so we'll see what this does to him and whether this can work in his favour or not. I've just seen David Cudmore also have a spin at the NGK chicane on the exit, so another victim claimed by the chicane.
Yep, another one. David Cudmore was a lap down already, so he's struggling. Scott Sims will also dive down then into the pit, so he will come in and make his stop. But Matt Wood looking like he is in a very good position at the moment. He will see Cudmore go through, and in terms of where he's going to come out in comparison, there's Jan Stratinsky. He'll crucially be ahead of Patrick Kowalski, which is going to be key because Kowalski was running around in 10th place. So Matt Wood very comfortably gains that margin over Patrick Kowalski by about 6, 7, maybe even 10 seconds.
Yeah, he's actually done that purely on pace. The pit stop time is basically the same, if not slightly in Matt Wood's favour. So he's done really, really good to end up coming out ahead of Kowalski. But nevertheless, we'll see whether McLeod does indeed respond to this and whether he does end up coming into the pit lane.
Sorry, we just got another fastest lap alert coming from Mark Usher. He's just done a 1:30.9 cam.
No words for that. Yeah, don't know how to respond to that.
I don't think anybody does. Mark Usher's in another league at this moment. He's on a different planet, and nobody is going to be within a country mile of getting anywhere close to him if he can continue that pace. So that's going to be crucial to keep in mind as this one goes in. Stephen Chantal from 4th position, the Canadian, dives down onto the lane. So Stefan Chantal, we'll see what will happen with the number 11 car. Up the tyres, we'll get some fuel, and we'll soon be off and away again.
Well, trying to obviously undercut the car of, trying to undercut Danilo and trying to get a bit of an undercut on Jose Super as well, who's still yet to go. We've seen Clayton McLeod still yet to pit as well, so we'll see whether Matt Wood's going to end up possibly getting the undercut on McLeod or whether he won't.
Also coming in will be Mustafa Erden to make his stop from 15th position in this race. So he will fall 1 lap down to Mark Usher, who is yet to come in and make his mandatory stop here today. Actually, he's going to do so right now. So the race leader goes 22 laps on his stint and decides it's time to come down in and make his stop. He's looked for a bit of clean air and he feels like he's got it. So Marco Sanfilippo will get a lap led, but some will feel that's a pity lap at this stage.
Yeah, and it's actually possibly going to be a disadvantage as well with the fact that he's got Nielsen and Louis Moering just ahead of him. So really is going to have to be careful here that he doesn't get held up by this traffic and end up with further issues.
Okay, this is going to be crucial. Jose Serpa is also down in onto the lane, so we'll keep an eye out on this one the longer that this goes on, because this is going to be a close fight. Mark Usher off of the lane as they get themselves going through. So Mark Usher gets himself off going. He's behind Jaden Thurlow out on track. So Serpa coming down right now. Piotrowski, I believe, is coming down in right now to make his stop. So that's going to be key as well. Both of them are going to be in a good scrap as Swiderski's gone around. And here comes Chantal right now trying to get the gap over Serpa. Serpa's going to come out of the lane now, but there goes Chantal away into the distance.
Yeah, and a slightly longer stop for Chantal as well. So the undercut for Chantal has worked in his favour massively. So really good work here by Chantal, but nevertheless, Mark Usher has actually come out in a little bit of traffic as well. He's got Jaden Thurlow just ahead of him, and then Ronaldo Augusto not too far ahead of Thurlow. So he does have to be careful here, and he's probably actually timed his pit stop quite nicely.
Certainly has, and I believe I am mistaken because it's very late in the evening here for me at the moment. So not DRS, but Kurt around this place at the moment. Marco Sanfilippo then staying out another lap as into the pits comes one driver in front of him, Luis Maraghan, so he clears him. Neo Sanfilippo also staying out then in terms of his stop, but it's a long way back to Jaden Thurlow, who is currently residing in 4th position at the moment. Knows that behind him, 4th position, will try and get by Mark Usher, but he's staying out. But in comes Clayton McLeod. This is going to be a key battle, remember. Piotrowski was kind of close in terms of his scrap, and Matt Wood as well. Eyes on Matt Wood right now, heading himself through the big left-hander.
See if he can possibly close the gap up to the cars ahead of him, and Matt Wood has had a pretty decent run actually in this race. A few mistakes here and there, but nevertheless a pretty clean and quiet race for him actually overall, so be hoping to try and gain a few more places for Matt Wood.
Well, he certainly will. He's gone and even the splits 20 and 20. McLeod comes off for the jacks, and away he will go. So this is key. Through goes Jose Serpa, through goes Stefan Piotrowski, and Matt Wood is nowhere to be found in that battle. So that's key. Adam Webb, I believe, is back in for his stop. So Webb will get himself out and going, and he was around Antonio Ortiz. Ortiz, of course, was near Tamas Shane. Shane going through the final corner will be jumped by Adam Webb. So there's a little move for you. Adam Webb beats Tamas Shane in the stop.
Yeah, certainly does, which is actually a little bit interesting based on the pit stop time, but nevertheless, really good job. But here comes Marco into the pit lane to do his pit stop, and I imagine his brother won't be too far behind, and he's coming in as well.
He certainly is, so he will look to try and make his stop out there on the road. Usher and Thurlow making their way through. Thurlow is going to stay out. He will take the race lead then in this one, but Marco and Danilo down onto the lane. Keep an eye out on him as Reynaldo Augusto, I think, day is done. He looks like he's got a very battered vehicle down on pit road. So his race over. Marco Sanfilippo hits his box, and Mark Usher immediately going through, and that just shows you how much of a gap he's got. He's already gone past turn 1 as Marco Sanfilippo has got himself off of the Jackson run away. The Neo Sanfilippo off of his marks as Antonio Ortiz is going to challenge him down into turn number 1, but crucially a mile ahead of who he needs to be ahead of, which is Stefan Chantal. So the Neo Sanfilippo makes the strategy work.
Yeah, he certainly did. Augusto having a big moment and onto the back straight, just catching that outside curve, somewhat similar to what Chris Owen did, but without the overcorrection, and unfortunately hitting that wall and losing his rear wing, and then not actually having a good time at the next corner either. He lost it due to having no rear wing and straight into the wall even harder. So not the best race for Ronaldo Augusto, but nevertheless Mark Usher has done a fantastic job to manage to do what he has.
He certainly has, and he is in second position right now with one driver needing to make a stop. That one being Jaden Thurlow in the number 9 machine. So Thurlow looking like he's going to try and get himself out as quickly as he possibly can. Of course, Antonio Ortiz still needs to make his stop as well, but we've also got this crucial mid-pack at the moment between Chantal and Serpa and Piotrowski and McLeod. Serpa to McLeod at the moment is split by just 4.5 seconds right now, Cam. That's not much of a margin at all, especially with them evenly spread out. A small mistake here, a small mistake there, and whoever's got the best latter stage pace could find themselves with an extra position.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's just been all about making no mistakes here. It's very easy to do, especially when you're pushing so hard and actually on a lower downforce trim that you might be somewhere else, so it really does make this car that much harder to drive. But I feel like as in the pit and Ortiz having a go at the Sanfilippo of Danilo.
What? I'm sorry, Ortiz hasn't come in and made a stop, and he's gone and got the move done on Danilo Sanfilippo. We're talking about how old tyres are very much even to the new ones once they rubber out, and it seems like the tyres aren't working here for Danilo Sanfilippo. That heavy fuel load really mitigating everything that's needed in this one, and he's just lost the place to Antonio Ortiz without too much of a fight.
Yeah, he certainly has, and it's really strange considering that he's on fresher tyres and slightly more fuel, but it's really odd.
Yeah, Matt Wood just running slightly wide through turn number 4. He got away with that one there because there's a million miles of asphalt there to run off onto. It's worth noting as well, Jaden Thurlow has just come out ahead of Jose Serpa, so the overcut has massively worked here today compared to the undercut. Jaden Thurlow finds himself in what has to be net 5th place at the moment with Chantal down the road. So Jaden Thurlow's looking behind. Jose Serpa now will want to try and get by quick.
Yeah, he certainly will, especially with the fact that his car is going to be slightly lighter. And like we've seen with the car of Ortiz, clearly the overcut is the way to go. And that lighter car does make you that much quicker compared to those who are on newer tyres and heavier fuel, such as Danilo Sanfilippo. So, yeah, we'll see what happens here with Serpa, but Thurlow's really going to have to work for it here.
He certainly is going to have to work hard as Ortiz goes on for a 27th lap. So we were slightly wrong with our numbers. We said 26 is the absolute latest. Well, here's Ortiz proving us wrong. Jaden Thurlow, though, the gap under a second. There will be curves available here in towards every corner on this circuit, but they only have about 6 seconds worth of it, so they're going to have to be really cautious about the way that they apply it. It is worth noting about curves and this Williams car, because I think just about the year before this car's inception was made, they were trying to trial the fly-by-wheel curves, which I thought would have been one of the greatest inventions that Formula One would ever have.
It certainly would have been. It would have been quite fascinating to drive with that sort of system, and quite interesting to see how the technology would have formed into the later stages of its life. But I've just seen what I didn't think would happen. Antonio Ortiz has actually gone quicker than Mark Usher in the last lap.
What? Antonio Ortiz, where have you been sleeping right now? He's a sleeper agent, and someone's activated the code word for Ortiz, and he's suddenly walking around here like he owns the place, like he's Michael Schumacher. On the brakes he goes into the left-right chicane, and surely on fumes. He's got to come in soon, and finally he does. So after setting at what is a fantastic lap before his in-lap, he just shows everybody how to race, and that could be the difference here for a couple of positions. He's nice and neat on the entry line as well. Tough here to deal with these lines around this circuit because, of course, here at the Nurburgring, there's a million pit entry lines.
Yeah, there certainly is. There's all sorts of different lines for various different series and various different races, which does make it a little bit confusing. But at least in iRacing, we've got those 2 yellow cones that you can clearly see and know that's the pit entry line. Hit the brake pedal before those things.
Out to the pits comes Antonio Ortiz, and in terms of where he's going to end up here, through goes Jacob Swiderski, who's a lap down. There's David Cudmore a lap down. I put him ahead of Patrick Kowalski. That's the top 10 for Antonio Ortiz on a big overcut, which has worked marvellously for him. So we'll see how this one works for the second half of his race, which will now turn into the final quarter very soon, because we're on lap 28 right now here of 40, and at the moment it is a battle going on for 6th position, which is now 5th position, which is the closest battle out on track, because this is Jaden Thurlow and Jose Serpa split by 6/10 the last time they crossed the line. Serpa having a little bit less luck with the traffic on this lap.
Yes, certainly. Traffic's been playing a really big role in this race, and it has for Serpa in that last lap. And Serpa actually did go a tenth slower on that last lap as well, so it's not quite quicker than Thurlow, but the pace is definitely there to try and challenge for that final top 5 position. And Chantal's not too far up the road as well, slightly quicker than these two behind, but nevertheless they'll be pushing on to try and do something.
Well, it's now into race conservation mode then for Mark Usher, who knows he's got himself 9.7 seconds of a lead at the moment at the front of this field. He lost 3/10 on that last time by. He knows that he can afford to lose maybe almost a second a lap at this point and still come away with the race victory. That's how much of a margin he has made. The only person who can stop Mark Usher is himself or the lap traffic, and we touch wood that it is not the lap traffic which ends his race prematurely, but still some brilliant work going on up and down this field. And you also got to talk about lapped traffic battles at the moment, because David Cudmore and Jacob Swiderski are having a scrap for 21st place overall.
Yeah, there's certainly there's all sorts going up at the front, but those lower regions of the top 20 are still being hotly contested, despite being a lap down. Swiderski doing a great job to try and hold off the car of Cudmore. Both have made mistakes in various places in this race, but they're definitely having a good old scrap at the moment. Cardinal a lot quicker that last time by, just over 0.2 of a second, so should be able to get a move done at some point.
At some point, but there is a long way to go in this race, and of course those drivers trying to make progress through the field, they are going to hope that they are in best position to try and get themselves moving forward in this one. We are down just 23 runners here in this race at the moment after what were 30 who did take to the start, and I am surprised actually with how little drivers we have lost around the track, which you'd have to say, Cam, is notorious for finding retirements here and retirements there. It is a very tricky circuit around this place, and I think it is a great adaptation of what modern racing is, where you've got the old notorious very scary next door neighbour, which is of course the green hell itself, the Nordschleife.
Yes, certainly. It's a difficult track, but it also has managed to show that everybody has been pretty sensible about it and managed to keep their heads screwed on fairly well. So really good driving by majority of the field to still have 23 cars running around despite some of them a lap down. But if Mark Usher probably wasn't in this race, he'd probably have more than just the top 16 on at the lead lap, but nevertheless really good driving by everybody so far.
Well, we were talking about how Jose Serpa needed to attack Jaden Thurlow. Now Jose Serpa's looking backwards at Stefan Piotrowski, because Piotrowski took half a second off of him last time by. The gap came down to 1 second and 7 thousandths. That's all as he heads himself up through the Schumacher S and looking over towards the next left-hander out on track, which can be an overtaking opportunity if you're brave enough. We've seen it happen in things such as the Porsche E-Series Super Cup, as they have had themselves some brilliant battles throughout their 1 year they've done so far, but they're heading towards their second. But Stefan Piotrowski at the moment here, Cam, is looking like he is priming himself for 6th place.
Yeah, Piotrowski's been doing a really good job over these last few laps to close that gap down to Serpa, and Serpa's just been struggling strangely for some reason or another, and just doesn't have the pace that he did a few laps ago compared to the car of Thurlow and also Piotrowski. So Piotrowski's really going to be able to get a move done here at some point if he can keep this pace up, and if Jose Serpa can't find a way to stop struggling.
Well, Serpa again on that last lap lost 0.3 of a second. It was a 32.6. Meets a 32.3. That tells you all you need to know about the way this race is being run for Jose Serpa. He needs to find something here in the remaining 10 laps that he goes around this place, as we got a little bit of side-by-side as Antonio Ortiz has to negotiate the lap traffic, and it is lap traffic in a battle again. Luis Maragán and Steve Giori fighting for the final spots inside the top 20.
Yeah, certainly. They're still going at it down in the further reaches of this top 20, and Morang is going to make a mistake. They're going to allow Giori and Ortiz by. Ortiz very lucky not to get caught up in that. Giori is going to take that 19th place.
He certainly is, and it happens quickly. On the brakes, transfer down the hill is always the toughest braking point, and I have to say Luis Maragán did very well to hold the brakes of that section. It's so easy when you're a driver, Cam, just to put the power down, get going as quick as possible. You've got adrenaline coursing through your veins. But Maragán, he knew better. He knew just to hold his brake and know that he can go and race another day. Now his other day is Jacob Swiderski here for 20th and 21st. And look at the run that Swiderski is going to have here. He's going to have to go to the inside, which will turn to the outside for the notorious section. You can see Luis Maragán is just going to let him have it.
Yeah, again, not quite able to get the job done. I do wonder if he's actually possibly got damage, because he's really struggling at the moment. Kowalski's going to have to try and find a way past at some stage. Going to really get held up here, and it's going to allow actually David Cudmore to catch up as well. So yeah, I do wonder if Moreau is going to have bigger issues at the stage, because he's really not doing too well.
Well, here's Ortiz at the moment, looking like he's got himself through on Matt Wood into turn. No, he's got himself way before that turn number 1. I'm wondering here at this point in time, was there a slow down penalty somewhere for Matt Wood? He was uncharacteristically slow, and yes, there would be. Through the chicane, he went in too deep, got himself over the curb and got himself slow. So maybe just then he decided, you know what, Ortiz quicker, I'm struggling on the tyres. Incident points are a key factor as well, with drivers spinning around. Only 17 they're allowed over this 40 laps. So maybe it's just a case of Matt Wood trying to manage a way home.
Yes, certainly, and he wouldn't complain with the top 10 as well. would Matt Wood at this stage, especially with the way this race has been all over the place in terms of different ways and the few mistakes that he's made. So won't want to risk ending up losing all that hard work thanks to a penalty from reaching 17 incidents. But nevertheless, he's had a pretty solid run and just looked like he locked the rears when he had that moment at the chicane on the last lap. So easy to do, but just another mistake that you don't want to be making.
Yes. Piotrowski, though, keep an eye on this from car 18. You can see the gap as they cross the line remains at 0.6 of a second, but he is trying to angle for an overtake, and there is going to be some lap traffic in the near future with Mustafa Erden just a little bit down the road in 18th place. So this is going to be key for Piotrowski. He's got to get this move set up around the lap traffic and try and go for something, maybe even try the pick pass, so to speak, the Hakkinen Schumacher at what was 2000, was it, at Spa-Francorchamps? It's got to be somewhere he's got to look for it, and two contrasting lines as they head down the hill, and now the run towards Dunlop. You can see just how close now Piotrowski is.
Yeah, I think Serpa made a little bit of a mistake going a little bit too deep on the brakes there, the chicane just before, but nevertheless, this allowed Piotrowski to really get up nice and close. The Eurowash really going to be a big factor now with how close he is, but he's going to try and make it work as Piotrowski to try and get that drive down the back straight.
Well, you can see he has to take a little bit more curb through the left-hander and through the long 90-degree right, slightly helping is that corner as they go through. He is within a very nice position right now if he wants to try and make that move. Up the hill they come along once again as they head into the left-right, and there is Erden in front of them, who will be slow coming off the exit and will dive out of the way of these drivers as they now head into the final Coca-Cola curve, and they look to put the power down on as quick as possible, and Serpa has negotiated the storm there very nicely over the course of that lap. But Piotrowski, he's brought the gap down by 0.2 of a second here. He's now 0.2 closer into this scrap, and all this while that this is going on, only 2 seconds down the road is Jaden Thurlow, who is matching the times being done here. Serpa.
Yeah, Serpa's actually slightly quicker than Thurlow that last time by.
He certainly is, just ever so slightly quicker, and it is telling here at this moment as they continue looking for their race to really work out as they head through the left and then into the right, down the hill. Once again, these two come along as they look to continue to have their scrap at the moment. You've got yourself some brilliant work being done up and down this field from drivers everywhere who are making very, very good progress. Something we haven't talked about here today has been the good drives in third and fourth position from Danilo Sanfilippo and Stefan Chantal. They both find themselves on their own a little bit here in this race, away from everybody else, but they have had some really, really good races here and will take some solid points towards the championship.
Yeah, they certainly will, and especially Sanfilippo, who had a bit of a messy run last week with his brother after that lap 1 incident. So he's really trying to recover a lot of points here after last week, which is probably going to end up being a drop round for him, which he probably didn't want. But nevertheless, Chantal going to score a lot of points here, and after that result at Canada as well, he's going to be pretty pleased with a 4th place, another solid bag of points.
Well, look at Thurlow at the moment here. He's in trouble. Last lap, 1:33.3. Lost 1.2 seconds. And suddenly in the wheelhouse, Serpa and Piotrowski. And in terms of where this has all happened, it didn't look like anywhere on track was a really bad place for him in terms of the way that he ran that lap. So this is crucial here for Jaden Thurlow. He's got to find something together once again, because the time is starting to fall away, and defending here a top 5 finish would be absolutely mega here in terms of the final 6.5 or now 5.5 laps in this race. Thurlow is clinging for this top 5, knowing there are 2 drivers behind who desperately want that place.
Yes, certainly. He's going to have his work cut out for him with Serpa and Piotrowski just behind him. And do wonder if he is actually fuel saving. He's struggling a little bit through some of the corners and lifting off, so possibly has underfueled the car. And this is going to make it really, really tough, especially with the fact that Serpa is going to have some nice fresh tyres and a very light car as well. So he's going to have to really put on a very good defensive drive if he wants to hold on to this position.
Well, you could see it got down to about a couple of tenths heading through the big left-hander, but ultimately Thurlow still holding on to that margin at the moment. The gap to your race lead is now 11.7 seconds for Mark Usher, who likes to Sebastian Vettel his finishes and have the fastest lap on the final lap of the race. We'll keep an eye out on that as he goes and tries to challenge it. But for the moment, Jaden Thurlow looking like he is bait at the moment here, and this is where Serpa's got to be really, really cautious. He doesn't have much time, but he's ultimately keeping Piotrowski at bay as well. 32.6 was a good recovery that lap from Jaden Thurlow. It's just the case that Serpa has suddenly found the same pace as Piotrowski.
Yeah, he certainly has, and it's just going to be all about making sure that he keeps the car at bay of Piotrowski, as does Super, but also making sure he doesn't get held up by Thurlow and makes his way on by inside that top 5. So we'll keep an eye on this battle and see what happens. But Piotrowski's driving a pretty good race to keep up with the car of Super. You just see that Super's just got slightly better corner momentum on entry, but just doesn't get the power down as early.
No, he certainly doesn't, and this is, of course, the biggest battle out on track that you are watching at the moment for P5, for P6, and for P7. A lot of curb there for Jaden Thurlow. You can get away with it at that section of road. Is now up, down, and then up the hill. They come through Ad Van Bogen corner and look over towards the left-right chicane here of NGK as they go on through. So now what do you do if you Jose Serpa? Some may even question, maybe Piotrowski's got a better chance, but it's that dirty air effect again that's coming into play, that's making overtaking just that little bit tougher here as they look to try and get their overtakes done in towards turn number 1. The gap, a handful of 1/10 of a second, is on the brakes they go. Another little look into the mirrors. Jose Serpa is trying every tactic in the book.
Certainly is. He's trying to find a way past it every single corner, looking left, right, and centre, and just not working at the moment. The dirty air really going to be hurting those tyres that he's on at the moment, with the fact that they're going to be getting hot and they're going to be getting worn, and he's just got to really try and find a way past as quickly as possible. Only 3 or 4 laps to go at the moment, so he's going to have to try and find a way past earlier rather than later.
Well, this is the big key issue here, is the fact that at the moment it seems that the book that Jose Serpa's trying to get his overtakes on, it seems like Jaden Thurlow is a student of the game of that book. So it seems for this moment at least, Jaden Thurlow has the gap that he needs. No worries from behind from Clayton McLeod. In fact, there will be worries from Clayton McLeod. Look at how quick Clayton McLeod's been running the last few laps. 31.8. McLeod's quicker than the whole lot of them.
He certainly is, and he's got the pace of the front runners. In fact, he's pretty much actually quicker than Marco Sanfilippo that last time by. So he's got a lot of pace in that car as McLeod at the moment. So these drivers ahead of him will really have to start worrying about McLeod, because laps counting up, that pace is rapid.
And it was a gap last time of about 1.9 seconds to Stefan Piotrowski. If that gap comes down by anything, it's going to be a little bit concerning. You can see it on your screen what the gap is right now, to 31.8 from McLeod. There's another 4/10 off the book, and that's going to be crucial. It's down to 1.5 seconds, and again, Serpa cannot get close enough to Jaden Thurlow in this top 5 scrap, which will now include 6th, 7th, and now 8th position as well. Surely a bit too far back in terms of this will be Antonio Ortiz. But look at the times that Ortiz is doing at the moment. He did a 31.3 that last time by. He was half a second quicker than McLeod. If McLeod gets stuck a second a lap quicker from now to the end, he just won't catch at the moment, will Ortiz. It will require, if Ortiz wants higher than 9th, he needs a few more incidents to happen between now and the end of this race. A race which has been dominated with 2 laps to go by Mark Usher, waltzing away with another one.
Yeah, waltzing away with another one to make it 4 in a row now is Mark Usher with the way that he is going. But also just notice that Ortiz has done a lap that's less than a 10th slower than Mark Usher. So some massive pace in that car at the moment for Ortiz, but unfortunately not going to be able to utilise it as much as he hoped. And I've just seen Super's also fallen away a little bit from it, Thilo, in this lap alone. So Piotrowski's really going to be able to close up on the car of Super. He's going to look to the inside, fill the mirrors, but no move done.
No move done, none at all, but crucially, look at the traffic now. Poor run by Serpa, and here comes Piotrowski. He thought about the move into Coca-Cola. You can get it done, but he decided against it. That's a bold decision. Plumley wide. He's very good at being lap traffic. He knows exactly what to do. Go to the inside, let everybody through. Well, nice work from Robert Plumley. On the brakes they go into the right of turn 1, and you feel that may have been Piotrowski's chance with McLeod approaching.
Yeah, very much possibly could have been the mistake that he didn't want to make and the opportunity that he needed. Unfortunately, starting to very quickly disappear with the car of McLeod not too far behind with a lot of pace, and Super's really going to be trying to close this gap to Thurlow just ahead as well, because the laps are closing down, 2 to go. So Thurlow, if he's still fuel saving, is going to have to try and work for this one, but Super really does need to push on.
Certainly does, and the white flag lap, the last lap of the race, will start for Mark Usher here. Car number 2 has been dominant once again. Here's the final lap then around this Nurburgring track, but it's the battle 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th where we focus for the moment, because Thurlow is still not able to shake off, even after that lap, Jose Serpa or Stefan Piotrowski, or now Clayton McLeod on the back of this as well. This is a tough scrap, and Thurlow is starting to run really quick times. He did a 31.9 last time by to try and cover off those times. That's very quick at the moment for someone who's trying to fuel save. And for the moment, heading through the final corner, he will start his final lap knowing this is the key place where overtakes happen, and he's got just enough of a margin, but he is by no means safe at the moment. 32.3, not good enough at that point. On the brakes they go into turn 1. Again, safe is Jaden Thurlow. Serpa, no chance of making the move. Piotrowski, no chance of making the move just now. And McLeod there as well. Serpa struggles through turn 2. And here's a little look to the inside coming from Piotrowski. Door has to be left open through this section. And ultimately now it's about the run of the exit. Not there, as McLeod now will have a half chance of making this move into the next left-hander. Trying to go around the outside. Not going to find it. Up to the NGK though goes Mark Usher, who once again has proven to the world why he is the man to beat, and he goes for 4 in a row as he gets a big wiggle off of the final corner and wins at the Nurburgring once again. A magical race for Mark Usher. He has dominated the field. Marco Sanfilippo is very much second best here in this race, as he will come to the line, with third going to Danilo Sanfilippo come the end. Here's the scrap still going on though, Cam. Serpa, Piotrowski, McLeod, it's all going to happen at NGK.
Yeah, Piotrowski is going to try a possible move here at the chicane, but on the limit and not going to be able to get any closer than he is to the car of Serpa, but Serpa runs a little bit wide, and that's going to allow Piotrowski through, and this is going to allow McLeod to possibly have a look at the inside of the Coca-Cola. Curve locks the inside front, and that's not going to be a position for McLeod, unfortunately, but Piotrowski is going to come away with a P6 finish, and Serpa's going to have to settle for P7.
Oh, and he knew that the pressure was on, and at the final place it could happen. It's the bottle that finds itself there. It didn't quite work come the end of that one, but oh, that was a very good, entertaining battle for the final few laps of that race. And you have to say, it is one of these circuits which, even though sometimes it was a little bit more spread out maybe, Cam, than some other tracks we have seen on the calendar so far this season, it has still proven to be a very entertaining race.
Certainly, there was battles going on pretty much throughout the field, and plenty of good fights as well. So really exciting race, and can't wait for next week.
Well, next week will come along in a week's time. Of course, that's what next week means. But Mark Usher picks up the win in a time of 1 hour, 1 minute and 40 seconds. And he wins by 13.9 come the end over Marco Sanfilippo. Brother Danilo picks up third on a inconspicuous drive, half a minute off of Mark Usher, with Stefan Chantal finishing in 4th place. Jaden Thurlow, a very well-respected top 5 for him, with Stefan Piotrowski 6th, Jose Serpa in 7th, lost out on the final couple of corners, with Clayton McLeod feeling like that locked front really did cost him their 8th place only. He went nowhere in that one. Antonio Ortiz started 29th. He couldn't set a time in qualifying, but he did gain 20 places and run laps equal to or quicker than Mark Usher during that one. He gets a 9th place, with Matt Wood a very conservative top 10 finish.
And just outside the top 10, Patrick Kowalski and Adam Webb in 11th and 12th. 13th, Thomas Shane and Scott Sims in 14th. And Strutinsky from 22nd on the grid to a top 15, a pretty good drive there. And Andreas Nielsen recovering to P16, so good drive from him. Robert Plumley in 17th, 18th, Mustafa Erdin in 18th, 19th, Steve Giori, and rounding the top 20, Jacob Sweditsky.
Luis Maraghan 1 lap down. Cudmore and Pablo Maran are 2 and 3 laps down respectively. Pablo Maran spent more time around than he did going forward. And then you hit retirement alley, which has Reynaldo Augusto, Blake Haswell's in there, Wojciech Kosiuk there, and of course Chris Owen, who could have been a factor in that battle for second place, ultimately dropping it very early on. Matthew Howard, Ray Griffin, John Pat Kelly having his on lap number 1 of this race. That rounds out 30 cars then who took themselves over the start of this race. And you have to say, Cam, it has been a very, very interesting battle that they have had going on today. But more importantly than that, you've got yourself the next week's race, and it is a race which I am very excited to see, and it is, of course, the Twin Ring at Motegi.
Yeah, certainly. One of the more underutilized tracks on the service is Motegi, but does sometimes put on some good racing. Other times it's a little bit mediocre, but otherwise we'll see what happens. And Marcus will definitely be trying to go for 5 in a row.
Well, 5 in a row would pretty much set him up for a championship run. We haven't seen many get 5 in a row, and you'd feel if you can get 5 wins, then there's only 3 results where drivers can better you, and you need the 4 drops to work as well. But you can only catch that one here on SimSpeed TV. Make sure you like, make sure you share, make sure you subscribe for more great content that comes out of here. But of course, a massive thanks to those who get it done for us. Of course, Motum Simulations have been brilliant on the replay. But on top of that, there's been Jay Kennedy on the cameras. There's been Cam Dance on my left-hand side. I, of course, have been Jake Sperry. The same old story writes itself. Mark Usher has beaten the field. And at the moment, when you put Mark Usher or the field on an odds fixed race, it seems Mark Usher comes out trumps nearly every time. But can anybody find a solution to the problem which cannot be cracked? We'll find out at Twin Ring Motegi as we head to the land of the rising sun in just a week's time. We'll see you at Motegi.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my god! Oh! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
6 very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go.
Oh no!
That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?